What is up, everybody? We're back here, King Film Sports, for the NFL 2025 Divisional Round betting locks and game predictions here after a very lackluster wildcard weekend where 5 of these 6 games were not close, were decided by 12 or more points. So we'll get into the recap of those games, and be sure to check out my divisional round power rankings, which explains more of my thoughts surrounding these teams, and also the quarterback rankings is within that video as well, which I recorded before the Rams-Vikings game. Obviously, the Rams win by a lot, so they take the 6th spot in the power rankings there, just below the Eagles, but above the Commanders and the Texans. So now let's get to my recap of these betting locks. And full transparency, it was disgustingly bad. It was so bad, in fact, that it might have been good if anyone just completely faded me in the comments. They would have gone 6-0 if anyone just parlayed all of the fading picks. Then they would have made a lot of money here, because some of these picks I actually got good CLV on if you were able to get these numbers. But yeah, it was just a comedy of errors here. And if you want to fade me this week, then go ahead. Again, I think I'm primed to bounce back. But yeah, it's just been a very tough season for me and not my best work this week. And I also think I got a little bit unlucky maybe in a couple of these games. So we started out here with the Chargers and the Texans, and I felt pretty good about this one, especially at the 2.5 number here. I thought that the Chargers were thoroughly the better team, and I just think that their offensive line was a little bit worse than we expected, because they were playing inferior competition. They had the lowest strength of schedule of all the playoff teams, and the Texans pass rush I thought really played well within this one, but the Chargers should have been up way more than 6-0 in that first quarter of this game. The Texans could not get a first down. They were going 3-and-out every time. Stroud and that Texans offense was turning the ball over, but the Chargers could just not capitalize, and then the Texans end up having the lead 10-6 at half. At that point, I really knew it was over, and then Herbert throws 3 more interceptions in the second half there, so the Texans end up winning by 20. I know that some people are going to say that the Texans dominated this game because of the stat sheet. They outgained this Chargers team by 250 or more yards, but I really just think it was the turnovers from Herbert with the 4 compared to the 2 turnovers of the Texans there, and the Texans capitalizing more in the red zone in that one. So just a very tough game for this Chargers team. Justin Herbert, once again, can't get it done in the playoffs, but first year under Jim Harbaugh, so live and learn there. Then a horrible pick by me, Steelers over the 16 or 16.5 points in this matchup, and I knew that the Steelers defense did not match up very well against this Ravens offense, and Derrick Henry rushed for over 180 yards. Lamar had, I think, at least 50 on the ground himself, and also a $150 through the air. So the Ravens absolutely dominated the Steelers on offense throughout this one, 21-0 in the first half, but I thought that the Steelers could at least conjure up some offense, and that they did, at least in the second half. I thought that they had the back door wide open because of the garbage time in the second half, but really getting nothing in the first half really killed them. And I thought that they'd come out with some exotic plays, some trick plays, potentially go for it on 4th downs, but no, they just kept doing the same conservative things that they'd been doing at the end of the regular season. None of it worked, so they just were never close in this game and lost by 14. A dismal showing there, and we'll see what ensues in the offseason with their quarterback and coaching and coordinating situations. Then we got into this Sunday action, and it was disgusting as well. Now, we took the Broncos plus 10, and I mentioned that I thought the spread would get there. It never actually did. A lot of late, sharp money came in on this Denver side, so it actually closed at 7.5. So in the Discord, link in the description, we gave out the under in this game. In full transparency, I know that we went 0-6 for the purposes of this video, but we actually won on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday via the props that we gave out, the totals, and then also college basketball and Australian Open plays that we gave out there. So wasn't a great weekend, but we still ended up netting a bit positive in spite of these disastrous plays. But yeah, I thought that the Broncos could potentially hang in there in this one, and their defense proved to be very overrated. But even still, they get that touchdown to Troy Franklin on the first drive of the game, and the Bills just seem to be chewing clock for a lot of that first half. And if Will Lutz doesn't doink the field goal at the end of the half off the upright, then we could see a tie game there, and just thought it was closer than the final score indicated. It's 13-7, and then Josh Allen on 4th down hits Ty Johnson in the back of the end zone. Without that, it's a one-possession game. Broncos get the ball back, but after that, Broncos punt it back, and then Bills score easily there, and then end up winning 31-7. So this Bills team looks like a very dominant performance, winning by 24, but I actually think that the Baltimore win only by 14 of the Steelers was actually much more impressive there. Then we got to the Packers and the Eagles, and this was a game that was very frustrating to watch, especially if you had the Packers, but just very boring in general. Keyshawn Nixon of the Packers fumbles the opening kickoff, and it was all downhill from there. I'm not saying the Packers win or even cover if that's ruled the other way, which I think clearly on replay he had the ball, but that was just a spiral of bad events to come. Eagles capitalized, scored the touchdown there, and as I mentioned in my video yesterday, I do not think that Jalen Hurts played very well in this game. I do not think that he is an elite quarterback by any stretch in this league, but Jordan Love was just heinous for the Packers in this game. Ultimately, the 4-0 turnover disparity was enough for this Eagles team, and Saquon Barkley, again, looked very well on the ground there, so Eagles end up winning by 12. And then another frustrating one, Sunday Night Football. This one was actually the best game that we got. Went down to the wire here. And I know that the Commanders failed on a couple of fourth downs, but they got a few other key plays to go their way, and I thought Jaden Daniels played pretty well in this game. The Bucs up 17-13 in the fourth quarter, and then Baker fumbles the exchange to Jalen McMillan. And then later, when it's 20-17 and it's 3rd and inches, the center snaps it to Baker Mayfield a little bit early. Thought that should have been called a false start. Play ends up going for a loss of 5 yards, and then the Bucs have to kick the field goal and never end up getting the ball back as Zane Gonzalez doinks in the game winner there. So very frustrating to not at least get a push there for the Bucs to win that game, and the Commanders get the upset. And then Monday Night Football, the Vikings get blown up in Arizona against this Rams team, and really just from the get-go, Rams score on their opening drive, take the lead, and then the Vikings kind of weathered the storm there. I think that a play that not many people will look back upon is the punt when it's 10-3 that the Vikings player clearly should have blocked, and maybe they could have returned that for a touchdown. Instead, the punt goes as expected, and it's a fair catch within the 10, and then I think maybe later that drive, Sam Darnold gets strip sacked, and then Jared Verse returns it for the touchdown, goes up 17-3, and then from there it's all Rams. They win 27-9. That play was just a microcosm of the game. But yeah, other than that, Sam Darnold looks like he's seeing ghosts. Those were 2 horrible performances to end the season for him. And for once being a 14-2 team, this Vikings team were just clearly frauds. And Sam Darnold may lose a lot of money in free agency. Maybe he's not even with the Vikings next year. So we'll have to monitor that throughout the offseason. I also think that Kevin O'Connell is pretty overrated as a head coach at this point, considering that he's probably going to end up as coach of the year. Yes, it was great to get this team to 14 wins, but these 2 games were really embarrassing to end the season, lose by a combined 40 points to the Rams and the Lions. And remember, these were the same 2 teams that they lost to earlier. Other than that, they were 14-0 in the other games, but probably a decently easy schedule for the other games there that they benefited off of. So a lot of questions for this Minnesota team going into the offseason, and the Rams get a big win there. Stafford and McVay, another clean performance there. So with all that off my chest here, let's get to the divisional round predictions here. And as I've said in some other videos, I know you might want to fade me in the comments down below. You're free to do that. But I do think that I'm primed for a bounce back, and I really like these value picks here. I think you'll see a lot of closing line value for where the line is now. You're able to bet it on Tuesday as this video comes out, and when the games actually kick off on Saturday and Sunday. So we started out here with the Texans and the Chiefs, and give me the over 41.5. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a fireworks show in Kansas City in this one, but I do see a bit of value in this total. Yes, it's going to be very cold, maybe a little windy, and potentially a hint of snow in this game. But I really do think that this Chiefs team, coming off of the bye and the extra rest, obviously didn't play in Week 18, haven't played their starters on offense since the Christmas Day game in Pittsburgh. I think that they will come ready to play, and I think that this Texans defense is nothing superb. I know that Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense struggled there, but Chiefs, extra time to prepare. It's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and they've probably been saving a couple money plays for this situation in the playoffs. So I definitely expect the Chiefs to get at least 24, maybe 27 points in this game. I know that there's a big stat going out there that the Chiefs haven't scored 30 points in a game all season, but they've been getting around 24, 27 points in a lot of these games. So I think you can chalk that one up for them there. And then the Texans, they really want to run the ball with Joe Mixon, and they did it with good success, especially in the second half of that Chargers game, but I don't think they'll have that luxury within this one. So I think it's going to be a pass-heavy game script, and I do like the pass rush of the Chiefs there as well. So I think that they could get a strip sack or 2. Nico Collins is going to have a big game. I think that the Chiefs will bracket him over the top. So maybe it's going to be Mechie or Robert Woods that's going to have to come up with some good plays for this Texans team. I don't really know how they're going to do it. Do not want to lay the points with the Chiefs here, minus the 7.5 or minus the 8 points. I've actually made great money fading the Chiefs as they are 0-7 this season against the spread when the spread is a touchdown or more. So I'm actually including this one in a teaser leg. Take a 6-point teaser, get the Chiefs down to -1.5 or -2 if it's sitting at -8, or even if it's 8.5, I don't mind the -2.5 in a 6-point teaser leg because we've got a couple other good legs to pair that with. I just really can't see this Chiefs team losing outright. I mean, maybe you fret that the Texans get a backdoor here, are down 14 and then get a late touchdown to cut it to 7. So I'm not sure if they're going to be able to cover the full game spread, but I do like them there. Also worth mentioning that the Texans are the best first half team in the league. They're 14-4 against the first half spread, so maybe consider that there. It's currently sitting at 4.5, and maybe if the Texans start out with the ball, that's a pretty good edge there, but we will see. But I really do like the over 41.5. Just think that's a little bit of value there. Then we get to the Commanders-Lions game. This one should be a pretty fun one in primetime on Saturday, and in this one, I'm going the other way with the value. I'm taking the under 56 points. This is the highest total in a playoff game since that Bucs-Chiefs Super Bowl in the COVID year, and obviously that one went way under. It's just the case that we see a lot of these high totals, especially in the playoffs, go under here. I know that more scoring tends to lend itself to more scoring, especially this year because of the new kickoff rules where you're starting out on the 30-yard line or improved position. But I really do think that with these two teams and all the variance that's in this game, going for it on all these fourth downs and foregoing the field goals, if you even see one or two missed opportunities there, then you will see a lot of value on this number here, especially if the Lions get an early lead there. I think they'll embrace a run-heavy game script, so a lot of those drives will go 6, 7, 8 minutes, especially getting Montgomery back for this game along with Gibbs. And then I think you'll see Jared Goff playing very conservative in this game as well. So I do think that the Lions get up to an early lead, and I think this Commanders team has been very lucky throughout the season. They've had an 80% conversion rate throughout the season on fourth downs. They did miss two big ones against the Bucs. I think we see a little bit more of that this week. And I know that this Lions defense has been very much maligned throughout the latter stage of the season, but I do think that they will step up in this game. Aaron Glenn with an extra week of preparation in this one, and they're getting a couple of healthy bodies back as well. So I just don't think that the Commanders have the horses to expose this Detroit team. I think that the Lions get up in this one early and ride it out to a smooth victory there. And I think that potentially in the fourth quarter, they have a big drive to kind of milk away all the clock. So I really do like them as a teaser leg as well at -2.5. They're currently sitting at -8.5 for 9. So maybe you have to have a 6.5 point teaser leg. Don't hate that, but be sure to make it at a shop that doesn't really penalize you for that. So for instance, DraftKings has best teaser odds, but MGM and Caesars aren't terrible either. Just be sure to be prudent in how you're line shopping those. But I really do like the under in that matchup. I think it could end up hitting by a lot. Then we get to the Sunday slate where we have the Rams at the Eagles here. I know that there's going to be vast overreaction from that Rams-Vikings game on Monday Night Football, and a lot of people are going to be clamoring to take the Rams in the spread, and also probably a lot of Rams moneyline love at the +200 number. But I really do like this Eagles team minus the 5.5. I was the sucker earlier this season when these two teams played in SoFi. I took the Rams +3, and I got my teeth kicked in that game. The Rams lost by 17 points, and it really wasn't even that close. Saquon rushed for 250 yards on the ground. I know that the Rams know that as well, and they will try to limit him in this game, but I just do not think that they will be able to. I would be shocked if Saquon is held under 5 yards a carry in this one. I think that he gets at least 20, 25 carries. Jalen Hurts, he didn't play well through the air, but that's probably the scary thing, is that I backed the Packers +4.5 last week, and Hurts didn't even play well, and it was still never close. Now, you obviously had the turnover battle, and you can't really prognosticate that, but I just think that if the Eagles get a lead early and they can't run the ball with Kyren Williams, then Stafford is in for a very rough day, because I do not think that this Rams offensive line will be able to hold up against this talented Eagles front seven. I do think that they are a bit vulnerable on the back end, but really, the only player who stepped up for this Rams team is Puka Nacua, so if they bracket him, then maybe you've got Tyler Higbee over the middle, but you're going to have to see a resurgence from Kupp and a really good game from DeMarcus Robinson, Tutu Atwell, Davis Allen, just some of these guys that I just do not think very highly of there. So really incumbent on the Rams to jump out to an early lead there, or it could get in trouble. And I just see so many opportunities for this Eagles team, even if they're losing earlier on in the game, to get some good drives under their belt. And as long as Jalen Hurts just doesn't lose the game for this team, I do see the Eagles winning that one in Philadelphia. Should be a good battle, but I see the Eagles winning by at least a touchdown there. And then finally, we get to the game that everyone has been waiting for. This by far the closest spread. Right now, about a coin flip. I'm seeing Ravens favored by 1. And if you've seen my playoff prediction video, you know that I gave out the Ravens +650 to win the Super Bowl. Felt very good about the value in that future. Did not expect them to be favored in this game this quickly, but they are at this point. So I will take the under 52. I feel that there's a lot of value in this one. And I'm also taking the teaser leg. Whichever team is +1.5, I'll tease them up to +7.5. I was hoping that was the Ravens because I feel better about them, but I will take the Bills. I feel pretty strong about them getting the 7.5 and the value at home as well. So be sure to pair this with the other combinations as well. So that makes for 3 different teasers, put a unit on each there. But I'll get into why I like the under in this matchup. I think that both teams will be able to run the ball successfully, but not necessarily dynamic or explosive runs. I think that the Bills team, remember in that week 4 matchup when they couldn't really contain Derrick Henry, the first play of the game, I believe, for the Ravens was an 87-yard Derrick Henry run. So the Bills know that they will want to limit the explosivity and just give themselves a chance for Josh Allen on offense to go berserk, and that I think they will. We'll see how Lamar Jackson does through the air and if they get Zay Flowers back in this game, but I think that they will embrace a conservative game plan, especially thinking about the game that they lost last year to the Chiefs when they only rushed the ball 16 times. I think that they will rush the ball in this one north of 30 times in this game. It's going to be very cold, and I think that wind will be a factor in this game, and ultimately I just think that they'll embrace the run game. And then that Bills team, I think that they'll do the exact same thing, because I think that this is where you capitalize on this Ravens defense, is by running it down their throat. So I just think that even if these offenses are successful here, so much time is going to go off the clock here. You could see 3 or 4 successful drives in the first half, and it could only be 14-10 just because each team only possessed the ball 2 or 3 times in that game. That's at least how the Broncos-Bills game went. So I do think that you could see that there. Just pray that in the fourth quarter it doesn't turn into a shootout between these two teams. But I really do like the value in the under there, especially if these two teams get tight. We see that Harbaugh and McDermott in the past tend to turtle up you got a 4th and 2 potentially on midfield, and they might punt the ball, especially if they have the lead or it's a tie game there, at least early on. So I really do like the under between those two teams. I think we see a dogfight, a very close one. For what it's worth, I will take the Ravens to win outright in this game, but no real conviction. I do think that if the value moves to the Ravens later in the week, you might want to take a Ravens plus a half first half if you can get that at minus 120 or better, just because I think that it's going to be a low scoring game, as I mentioned. So maybe you see some value in the tie or the Ravens getting out to a lead. Maybe it's 10-10 there. So I would like that if the Ravens are getting plus a half for the first half, but for right now, that's not available yet. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think of my plays in the comments down below. Will you be tailing my teaser legs? How do you feel about totals? Went a little bit unconventional in the strategy here, but felt that I needed to mix it up after a very disgusting week of wildcard picks. So be sure to like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.